Wow, Pete, I had no idea Starfleet HR could be so wild. You had to write a separate report for each of the space crocodiles that the Admiral was fucking?
Yeah, what a real treat that one was. Brass didn't want to leave anything to chance, though. One of them was the Gorn ambassador's cousin.
Ugh. Well, explains why you wanted out of that line of work, but why transfer to cargo ops all the way out here?
Oh, I didn't pick anything. I think the Gorn ambassador didn't like how I described his cousin's scales. So I got the next open billet in a gold uniform. They mailed me my clothes, by the way. So what got you posted Truck Stop 9?
Well, you remember that really funny story that Riker told in that bar in Starbase 12? The one where he talked about getting Captain Picard to buy that Ryzian fuck statue because he knew it would have the local girls keep buzzing his tower looking to bang him?
Yes, obviously his best work.
I thought so too, so I decided to do the same thing to Captain Franzen when he had his short leave. The old man loved it. He loved it, and then he died. He died of a stroke, actually, from fucking too much. It was very tragic. And his wife, who I found out is Admiral Franzen, really didn't appreciate the gesture the same way, so now I help a ball of goo solve crimes.
Yeah, I swear, it's like everyone's an admiral these days. Well, I appreciate you helping me get settled in here. Just one question, though. What the hell is going on with Commander Sisko?
What do you mean?
Lieutenant, please. Commander Sisko. You know, the kind of goofy, awkward, sitcom dad assigned to command this little space station out in the middle of nowhere?
Yes, of course. What about him, though?
Now, where the hell is he? Because when I got here, all right, he's like this affable father of a teenager in spandex, overseeing the standard issue Starfleet shenanigans we all signed up for, all right? And the guy who's been running this place for the past few weeks is like his psychotic Bizarro twin. Is the real Sisko still stuck in that full immersion, shoots and ladders Candyland deal that the Wadi turned Quark's bar into?
Okay, like if you're talking about the coup thing, that was a lot to try and figure out.
Come on. The guy wearing the only red jumper up in Ops has Mirror Universe written all over him, Joe. All right? This is the same guy that just let Major Kira go commit a terroristic act of war in a Starfleet runabout against the Cardassians before he even finished his coffee. And then, if you remember yesterday, okay, he had us run counterinsurgency ops against the Bajorans after his boss told us to evacuate.
You know, he did allow us to choose to stay or leave.
My brother in Christ, the meeting he put in that Outlook email was, and I quote, all staff moral cowardice check-in. Who's saying no to that, Joe?
Okay, you've got a fair point. That was awkward. And okay, let's say I accept what you're saying here. What do we do about it?
Do about it? Nothing.
Nothing?
Listen, for once in my career, I'm getting to watch the cool shit happen up close. All right, no boring reports, no desk duty, no employee handbook. I get to see up close as, like, the most unhinged psychopath that Starfleet has ever seen choke out the Ferengi barkeep. And did you hear that he beat a Klingon in a fistfight? Who does that? What human does it? I never want this to end.
Batten down the hatches, because the bad space weather is about to roll in here. Red Feature, please. Vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
I swear it's still me. I just got more confidence and I'm combing my hair differently. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, what episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine have we watched this week?
Season 2, Episode 4, Invasive Procedures, first aired October 17th, 1993. teleplay by John Welpley and Robert Hewitt Wolfe. Story by John Whipley, directed by Les Landau. In universe date 2370.
So we are back to that sort of warm and cozy early Deep Space Nine, where sometimes the plot comes out of the space butthole. Sometimes the plot has to do with the space butthole. We're going to just kind of do some weird shit. No meta plot this time. No overarching storyline. A little bit of a break. It's kind of nice. It's been like 5 episodes between first season and second season.
Yeah, but listen, unlike whatever, when Odo gets stuck in an elevator, right? This is a one and done where you've got amazing world building going on. And also, conveniently, the episode isn't complete dog shit.
That's a big extra feature, isn't it? Like,
it's perfectly fine, and I'm here for it. I think that again, it's really starting to bleed through. Like, what do we do with Jadzia Dax as a character? Where do we go with the Trill as a whole? Whatever the fuck they were trying to do in the episode Dax from last season, where we found out that Curzon fucked his friend's wife, who also was kind of a murder. No, she wasn't a murderer. He got himself murdered.
He was actually technically a traitor, and then he died a hero, and was a whole thing that Dax was trying to cover up, and you didn't know about that until the last 30 seconds of the episode.
Terrible episode, and then flip other side of the coin. Here's something pretty great, pretty good.
Had the exact same thought, right? It's just, hey, we really want to do more of explaining the whole Trill, join Trill, Dax backstory. But the first time we did it was ass. So you've got to try and do it again. Again, strange that Jadzia Dax does not appear for most of the episode, in which Dax is the central character and the central focus of the story.
Yeah.
Does have that in common with Dax. But this is far more interesting because the Dax symbiote as a character independent of Jadzia actually comes into focus a little bit more. Like, what is Dax? How is it the same, and how is it different depending on who it passes to? And it helps you then bridge the gap back to the way Jadzia is, to say, like, okay, this part of her personality is Dax, and this part of her personality is Jadzia, and you can kind of start to see it.
Hey, is it Terry? Yeah. Great news. You've got a new character-focused episode coming up.
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy.
Cool.
I love acting.
You're going to be in a coma.
Oh, damn.
This time no one's going to wonder why you're not talking. There's going to be plenty of spackle to make sure people know exactly why you're STFU.
You remember that TNG episode I was supposed to be in? Yeah, fuck you. Again.
Oh, the one you gave to Julian so I could fall off a rock? I like the backdrop against this entire episode is that they evacuated everybody off of Deep Space Nine again. They just evacuated everybody.
Did it last episode.
And Sisko's like, wow, that was really easy. We got like everybody off the station with only 3 runabouts. I mean, people were jammed in those motherfuckers like they were standing in line for a Cedar Point roller coaster. But we're able to do it. There's a plasma storm that's rolling in, and we know from Voyager that, or Enterprise too. I think it was a plasma storm that made them put everybody in the warp nacelle pylon.
It was some kind of bad space weather where the warp nacelles were the only properly shielded part of the ship that could sustain everyone's life.
So, again, it's just enough science dudeasism to, okay, that's why there's no one on there. Fucking
the bad space weather is a solid trope in Trek. We've seen it multiple times, just like you're saying. And okay, sure, some bad weather rolls in at the lighthouse, and they've got to batten down all the hatches.
So, I'm assuming they just put everybody on Azeroth, Bajor.
I would assume so. I mean, it's right there. It's nearby.
Like? Do they put them all in the storyteller Smoke Monster City.
Can you guys check up on this? We did leave someone who attempted to murder O'Brien there in charge of magic.
Who?
So we need you all to problem solve for that.
What is the? Give me one crew member's name who is not part of the main cast at Starfleet.
Crew member's name that's what was Lieutenant Porkins, whatever his name was.
I mean, assuming he's still alive, I don't think he's ever to be seen. Sure, Lieutenant Porkins. Commander, we're down here, and it's just dead bodies everywhere. Everybody's been stabbed in here. It's almost as if someone has left a murderer, an attempted murderer, in charge. So they got rid of everybody. This is Bajorans. This is Morn. This is everybody except for O'Brien, Kira, Jadzia, Bashir. We'll find out Quark stuck around to help, even though he was stuck in we're supposed to be staying in his bar. Like,
volunteered to stay, could take his bank account with him.
I need you to hold down the bar and make sure that none of these drop ceiling tiles get any sort of stormwater on them, because this is the only viable conference hall available.
We need to have more trials in the future. It's going to be in here, boys. Obviously.
They're battening down the hatches. I like the feel of the station empty a lot. There's comments made that Tarek Nor was built to last, which we've seen. I mean, what episode was it where they were trying to cut through the doors with a phaser and they just couldn't?
Yeah, the Cardassian technology is lower in sophistication, but higher in overall endurance. Would probably be the way to describe it, like a trusty piece of analog technology versus the Federation's more whiz-bang digital.
Like a death camp where at any point the prisoners might riot and try to kill everybody.
Oh, very practical considerations. Yeah. We are running a bunch of murder camps. They might not enjoy this.
Let's make sure
we're ready for revolution, shouldn't we?
Tell you what, let's use the good doors.
Only the
one of those hollow wooden ones.
Hope we even put security cameras in this place. Technology the Federation will never know.
I'm tired of these Bajoran rats spray painting in the halls. I want cameras in all the halls so we can catch this circle in action. And we'll get them down the road. We'll give them guns. We'll make them look real bad. It'll be a whole thing.
So O'Brien and Odo are the ones that are battening down the hatches. And as they walk by one of the airlocks, they find Quark seemingly in like a prayer pose.
What's that called?
And
prostrating himself? Posturing?
Yeah, they open the door and like, what the fuck are you doing in here? And he just starts in on a whole monologue about how much he misses his brother. And the whole reason he's doing this is I need to verbally distract these two long enough that they'll just leave with me and not notice that I am committing crimes. And when you think about it in that context, he does a great job by pulling O'Brien in and like forcing a familiar relation with him to just like get Odo to not want to talk about any of this anymore.
So two things. One, this is the first time I think I've seen Odo make a solid miss and not check anyways, which I think maybe we can chalk this up to, they've been buddy-ish. So maybe this is Quark catching with his guard down. Two, boy, isn't O'Brien open with his personal history. Like, he falls into that one real stupid, which on one hand, he's part of the dummy post-scarcity Federation. On the other hand, this guy's got a lot of war blood on his hands. And
just because you're good at killing Cardassians doesn't mean that you know much about Ferengi tricks.
Well, not Ferengi tricks, just people asking about your brothers when you're getting yelled at. Take his openness about his family and then compare it to Odo with Luxana in the elevator, and the twisting of the arm you have to do to get anything out of Odo versus O'Brien. Just like, I'd love to talk about my family. Yes, I did miss them.
It makes sense when you consider that O'Brien, has a family and Odo has no memory of his existence before coming into some kind of sentient wakefulness in and around Bajor, including no idea of where he's from. So he has no reservoir of personal experience on which to draw upon when it comes to family. He has nothing. And so, of course, trying to get him to discuss that in any way, shape, or form is like pulling teeth, right? Like that was the whole thing. Like it took Lixana Troy, someone who is a professional
Manipulator.
empath, to get him to do it. Whereas O'Brien's like, yeah, no, I'm Irish, so I have a billion relatives, and all of them have drinking problems. Just I get to talk about that. We write songs about it. I'm Irish. No, that checks out.
They tell Quark to get back in the bar. Again, whatever the fuck he's supposed to be doing in the bar. Hey, look at that. There's a ship coming in. And
There's a dramatic pan before the end of the teaser to the beep boop little wall thing that you're left with the implication that Quark is responsible for.
Yes, Quark illegally installed a Nest learning thermostat in the airlock.
And,
actually, I believe it's the same prop. He installed an illegal Cardassian weapons deal pad with a gull's thumbprint on it.
Well, it is a bit of evidence for later, and I think quite a character arc for Quark in this episode in particular. He feels the pain of his deceit appropriately. But sure enough, as you just said, a ship says, "Help, Uwu, we are having trouble in the bad space weather. Can we dock?" To which O'Brien and Odo say, "Yeah, sure, we'll meet you down there."
Unbatten the hatches.
So they pop the thing open for him. They dock. There's a bunch of blue mist coming out of this very disco ship they were in, apparently. They're asking the lady who staggers out if everyone's okay, and then, suddenly call the
call an ambulance.
Ambulance, but not for me.
But not for me.
Like, she's got a gun, and then two Klingons pop out, and they have guns, and then some other guy pops out, and he's got a gun, and shit is escalated, and then you hear the main Klingon, Takar, talk, and you're like, "Excuse me, I think I know that voice. I think I've heard that voice many times before." And sure enough, that Klingon is played by none other than Tim Russ before he got cast as Tuvok.
Really?
You did not hear his voice that clearly there?
What?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and rewatch this episode. I thought the guy fucking nailed it. Like,
yeah.
As he went through the diatribe about how the High Council sucks and it's full of pussies who don't make decisions for real warriors, I was like, this dude's talking like, he's a true believer. Like, this guy understands. Like, good on him. Because usually some of these Klingons they get, they got kind of like an NFL linebacker level of commitment to the cause, minus General Uncle Phil, of course.
He took the time to understand the character he was playing. I completely agree with you. And I don't think it is a surprise, frankly, that based on what we know about Tim Russ and his love of Trek and his genuine appreciation of Trek, that he kind of managed to pull the same trick getting cast as Takar here. And you'd have to wonder if him getting cast as Tuvok a year later may have had something to do with his success in playing this specific guest role. But
you'd have to think.
You would assume
that Les Landau's like, hey, by the way, Berman, or especially, because this is still the Mike Pillar show, right?
Mm-hmm. And Pillar is the one to cast him ultimately in Voyager. So,
oh wow, you've got your own Vulcan ears, you say. Tell me more. Listen, Tim Russ, he's all over the place, right? He did the evil mercenary in Enterprise Mine, which, frankly, I felt this episode had a lot in common with Enterprise Mine. That's when they're doing the Baryon build-up sweep, where you've got the main hero ship, and it's empty, and people are trying to like get on with skeleton crew stuff, and then mercenaries show up, hold everybody at gunpoint. Speaking of guns, very strange. I thought that all of the non-Klingons in this party were using Starfleet Type 2 Vipers.
I think they wanted to preserve the disruptor pistols specifically for the Klingons.
I
And
know, but I mean, you
maybe
could have used any space gun. The fact you gave him Starfleet issue phasers really stuck out as strange.
not really. Like, we know that the villain of this particular episode is a Federation employee who worked at a consulate, might have had access to getting his hands on Federation equipment as a consequence.
Let me tell you what a major miss is in all of this Star Trek since season 2 or season 1 is that you never see like mercenary groups or old legacy crews or whatever packing the Type 2 Dustbuster style. Like, you never see Type 1s. And I mean, that's the kind of stuff like, all right, old police guns hitting the black market. Bring
Give
them
me
back
those
out.
used up Glocks. You know, give me those used up police Glocks that have had 10,000 rounds through them.
Yeah, the ones that are all scuffed from, heavy holster wear and banged up because they don't care because it's not their gun.
Because you can get them for like $150 at a gun show. Not that we would know these things.
These guys know what's up. This is not a dummy party. They're coming in. They're serious business. You got O'Brien. You got Odo. Odo, by the way, who is just getting slower and slower on the draw anymore. When's the last time he had a solid save? Because what's his face in Duet got shanked on his watch. Vedic Win, or not Vedic Win, who's pretty
Vedic
boy.
Win like pulled her terrorism stunts and blew up the school and nearly assassinated Vedic Bareil.
This Vedic Bareil was standing there next to him, and it was Sisko that gang tackled him.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best episode for Odo.
Yeah, as you said, actually, in one of our earlier episodes of this year, the man is good at solving crimes, not so good at the body work. He's just not good at physical protection duty. No better detective. No worse bodyguard.
Yeah, he's fallen off fast. He had some real solid early season 1 wins. It's been slower and slower. So he lets all of these people pour in instead of just going goof form and tentacling everybody to the bulkhead. They get the gun on him, and they're like, here is here's some space Tupperware we bought.
It's my boutique goo chamber. Get in.
Get in this hat box. This tiny hat box.
I swear it won't cook you.
I
swear it's like, a camp stove.
He's like, what are you gonna do to me? Shoot me with the phaser? And like, no. Foreshadowingly, we're going to threaten to shoot Miles O'Brien. And then he's like, all right, I guess I'll get in your Tupperware. So he slithers in there, and then they put the lid on and burp it so it's airtight. And then
stay fresh.
Then let's go back to the changeling physics discussion table. He has gone into goob form. There is a lot of him. This is more than a glass shattered cup on the floor. And I think the guy picks the space Tupperware up with one arm.
We have the same mass conversion issue we've had with Odo since the beginning.
Like, he was at least a mop bucket worth of goo. All right. If that was water, you would have a hard time picking it up one-handed. So very, very strong bad guy.
And so this running crew that comes out is 2 Klingons, Takar and Yedo, a woman named Mariel, and a 4th guy who is a Trill named Varad. Varad is a timid, nebbish looking guy in the back. They essentially roll up on Julian. They're smart enough to take the comm badges, take the weapons, go roll up on Julian, neutralize him, take his comm badge, put Odo in stasis chamber. Now let's go to ops. And just as they start to figure out something's wrong, oh, hey, too late. We're all here with guns. Now everyone's captured. Okay, clean and easy. Why is this happening? What is going on? What is occurring? Finally gets explained as they, kind of hit the stinger at the end of the first act and go to commercial break and come back. And that is Varad is here for Dax, but not Jadzia, for Dax, the symbiote. And this is essentially a bio-hijacking. He wants
It's a slug napping.
It's a slug napping. And our primary antagonist this episode is actually Varad. He's the one that's hired the two Klingon heavies and brought along his, as we will find out, prostitute girlfriend along with him. And he's here to steal the Dax symbiote because he wanted to be joined. He was rejected. He really doesn't like that he spent all of his life getting ready to do something he was told he wasn't allowed to do. So he's just going to take it. He's just going to take it.
Go back to Dax, the episode. Go to the Trill consultant that the prosecution brings in to, like, basically educate the audience more about the life of a Trill. And Varant, whatever his name is, does 1,000 times better cluing you in on the selection process and what the deal there looks like. That even if you're smart enough and you got a clean record and everything else, you can still be denied for the joining. That only 1 in 10 Trill are chosen to be symbiotes. None of Dax Jadzia's family were selected. And this review board, this commission that makes decisions after formal applications, and it looks like you only really get one shot at this, right? Which is pretty fucking brutal.
The only person to ever get rejected and then reapply successfully is literally Jadzia.
Well, spoiler. Thank you, Joe. That the only thing you hear back from them is what? Unsuitable?
Unsuitable.
What a fuck you. Not like, hey, you got the wrong blood type. Hey, you got a genetic defect. Hey, we saw your holodeck browser history. Just, nah. Next.
I appreciate that they're going to continue to delve deep on Trill symbiote lore as the show goes on. I think it's an interesting subplot that they decide to develop further. It's an interesting character. It begs to use the opportunity to tell stories about this unique circumstance by which the Trill have this evolutionary advantage as a consequence of their access to this multi-generational, maybe even immortal symbiote being that can join with them and gather multiple lifetimes worth of experience. And yeah, the personal effect that this has on Varad as he explains, like, now I'm never going to realize this destiny and I'm just not going to put up with that. I've decided I'm just going to take the Dax symbiote from you and I don't really care about the consequences, because not doing so would mean I just this nebbish clerk in a forgotten office, not destined for any kind of greatness. It's a antagonistic, incorrect motivation, but at least it's like a motivation you can connect with, right? Like, I can understand why he's this way. He's wrong, but he's being guided by his own arrogance in a way, his own sense of entitlement to essentially someone else's life.
At the same time, there's sympathy.
You can see that, like, I can see where he could snap. I can see where he could break, and he could decide that this is a totally logical thing to do.
I would like to think that there's a lot more of that actually within the Trill, that, you've put all your hopes and dreams into this thing and that you've got some real bad eggs that crack on rejection, and that, this is something that you got to watch out for. Deep Space Nine has done a wonderful job giving themselves a lot of runway with a lot of different new character types to tell these stories. Obviously, Odo, Jadzia, and Dax. Like, prior to DS9, I think we really had one encounter with the Trill, which was like, can Beverly be a lesbian, right?
Yes, that was kind of the introduction to him. That's when they had the nose ridge still, I believe.
It's the same runway Voyager should have had, and sure enough, they didn't care to do it. All you got to see as far as Alien went was Tuvok and Seven, and Kess while she was around, and of course Neelix.
I mean, Kess might have been the most alien of them all, just because her lifespan circumstances are so much different than anything else. But yeah, that's as far as it went.
I'm going to put my vote behind Neelix, who I still think had the best, character arc out of all of Voyager.
He had the best character arc, but he was still just a goofy, he was just space snarf. He was just a cat man.
Unless he was being, a dangerous drug dealing, potentially
Jack
murderer.
Neelix, of course. Yeah.
And then, of course, the EMH was a great investigation. But, I mean, that was just main cast. You had a lot of side characters they could have played with. They didn't. This is a nice example of, like, I don't want to hurt anybody. Please cooperate while I murder your friend. And Jadzia being very selfless is like, okay, well, this is a no-win because there's 4 of them with guns. And there's, like, 8 of us with no guns. And they're Klingons, so they're strong. So, like, this is, what was that goddamn episode out of Enterprise with a handful of Klingons subjugating all of the oil?
Oh, yes! Oh, God! That really, like, as I reflect on it with T'Pol with her fucking kung fu suit on, like, that might really have been the worst. But
yeah, it was the worst.
Renegade? I forget. I certainly will never forget the episode, but I definitely forget the title. I do, like, want to point out O'Brien gets drilled in the shoulder by, like, a phaser on something far less than stun, right? Like,
they hit him with cut.
Yeah, they hit him with, this would kill you slowly. Like, it's lethal, but only just, which seems worse. If
this got you in the neck, it would have killed you.
Yeah. You got zinged by some hot loads out of a Federation Type 2 in the shoulder and just, like, blows the hell up to prove his murderous intent, which I guess that's the one piece of this that I'm not buying, is that the decision to test his willingness to do this ended there. Like, no one seems softer to me than Varad ever. Like, you want to talk about somebody that you think you can push around, that Sisko probably definitely thinks he should be able to push around. It's him. And they all just, like, fold because he shoots someone in the shoulder. It's like you answer me this, Peter. If the next move is Sisko rolls up to the guy, makes him put the phaser at his head and said, if you really want to do this, pull that trigger right now. Pull it. Pull the trigger. Prove me on a shadow of any doubt that you actually are willing to kill to get your hands on this. And I don't think he would probably fold right then and there.
I think he would have done it. I really liked him shooting O'Brien on the setting burn, because he even says it to himself, like, he wings. First of all, there's a lot of gunshots in ops today. The Klingon, like, as they come in, he's like, stop fucking around, we're being serious now. And he shoots his disruptor into the ceiling. Everybody looks up and like, dude, you realize that's the outer bulkhead.
that drop ceiling you just talked about just got fucked up, unfortunately.
Yeah, like, that goes out into space. And I don't know if you saw Event Horizon. I don't want to go out there. Varad shoots O'Brien to make a point, and he laughs, kind of like self-congratulatory, because at this point he has now sealed his fate. Or maybe, which I've got a whole thing by the end of this, but he is committed to the crime. There is now no going back. He must be ride or die, because even if he does not go through with this, he's fucked. He has shot a Starfleet office. Well, not
he's already commandeered a Starfleet of a space station.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between
at gunpoint. Like,
there's a difference between stealing a cop car and shooting a cop.
Well, let's be clear. He's come here to take the Dax symbiote and is acknowledged by all parties from the jump. This will kill Jadzia. It's a matter of how long she survives without it.
Okay.
As made expressly clear. So he has come with the express purpose to commit murder. Okay.
He has, but he has not gotten to that point, and he's not sure he will be able to do that to her. But by shooting O'Brien, he has proved to himself that he does fully commit to this, and there is now going back. No going back. He cannot show Dax Jadzia mercy because he is already a criminal and he's already going to go to space jail or whatever the fucking consequence is supposed to be. So I think, yeah, had after he shot O'Brien and proved to himself that he is willing to do whatever it takes to get this symbiote, that if O'Brien was to step to him, that he could have shot him. He doesn't want to, but I think if push came to shove, that he would have done it. Oh, also real quick, what you're saying before about the subplot of O'Brien suffers, like, great entry here.
Oh yeah, and this is actually, I think, the start of a recurring character. That would be Chief O'Brien's shoulder injury. No, seriously, from this point forward, his right shoulder is constantly bothering him. Exactly where
Bothering
he got shot.
him? Oh, really?
Like, he has to keep going to Julian and get it treated because he keeps fucking it up because it's just never healed right.
Does he call this out specifically?
No, it's just, I think, a coincidence that he gets shot there, and then they create a subplot where his freaking right shoulder is never always fucked up.
What a great callback. Like, man, ever since that fucking Trill shot me, this thing has just not been right. I don't think you flashed the blinking light on me long enough when this initially happened. Despite having this really great plan about putting Odo in space Tupperware and how to, like, storm Deep Space Nine and whatever, like, at no point do they realize that, hey, this place has a jail.
We could put them all in it. And then we could go
put force fields in, and we could just
go. We could
not
just leave.
Deal with this shit.
Yeah, we just be done.
We don't have to stand here while they try to, like, convert us or, diplomacy us into release, whatever. It goes, all right, well, we're going to use the nerve central of the station as the makeshift jail. And Jadzia's like, I relent, like, go kill me. And Julian has to go and flashlight on O'Brien for like 20 seconds. And then he goes down to the infirmary to start this procedure. And I like that the procedure itself wasn't like the whole episode. Also, I was really expecting him to have put Odo in the broken cryo chamber, and that Odo was going to, like, worm out of that space Tupperware on his own.
I think it was more interesting what they ended up doing there, to be honest.
Absolutely.
But I do appreciate that Julian doesn't want to do this. Sisko essentially has to put him in a position where he has to. He asks Jadzia for forgiveness. He's going to try and keep her alive as long as possible to try and hatch some kind of plan to put the symbiote back in time, which we establish is possible. And we actually get to see the symbiote during the surgery, which I don't think is a small thing. It is essentially a weird slug that lives in the abdomen of the Trill. It is a very alien, non-humanoid looking flesh ball thing. And we see it kind of coaxed out and clipped off and then put into somebody else. That's apparently how it works.
Yeah, these Trill have these marsupial pouches ready to go. So Varant and Jadzia are both laying there with their surgery sites exposed. I love that Varant's like, no, you're not giving me like full knockout head stickers. I want the head stickers that just numb the pain but keep me awake, and put a monitor on me so I can like walk you through this. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm not giving you any opportunity for funny business here. He's got Nurse Q-Tip Klingon, Perm Klingon with terrible hair. What was his name? Yada,
yes.
He's going to be there to kind of like supervise and act like a dick. I like that when they show Jadzia's stomach, there's like weird black veins on her stomach, like indicating that there's like extra vasculature there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fast process. It slips into his pouch. It latches onto whatever. Presumably, the symbiote, when they get in, they just turn. They're kind of like shape changers themselves, where they go from this big ball that should give every joined Trill a beer gut, and they're able to like perfectly flatten themselves so they look like beautiful Hollywood actors still.
They're trying to convey what they need to convey while making sure that people look good on camera. I get it. It's a compromise.
Yeah. Very Very Rick Berman.
So
I love the scene in Quark's bar where he's sitting there looking at some sort of satchel full of cologne samples from Macy's, and he pockets one of them because he deserves a raise.
he wants a little treat for himself.
Yada shows up, and Quark's like, "Hey, man, funny seeing you here. You sure are punctual, like a little, backhand antagonism. Hey, I got this illegal ass shit you wanted that." They say it without saying it. Like, again, very respectful to audience intelligence.
Yes, they don't tell you straight out. They let you figure it out for yourself. The Quark set this up because he thought he was just doing a dirty black market deal, and he wanted to do it with no money on the station so that like he couldn't get busted. And turns out that's not what's happening, and he did not know this.
Or that this is when this shit was supposed to happen, that it's unfortunate that this plasma storm happened, and Quark was willing to... I mean, they would have had to have tons of knowledge ahead of time that this thing was happening. For them to evacuate everybody...
No, it makes sense. It's a perfect cover for Quark, too, to be able to commit crimes, right? That's why I wanted to stick around. When you get some
I don't want to do this drug deal or fucking dark web social security number list deal on Azeroth. I don't want to get attacked by that knife-wielding psycho in the storyteller village.
He has magic powers and the power of knife.
Yeah. I'll stay here. I'll volunteer. I'll put the, I'll break the security system so these guys can get in here. It'll be a great thing. And the guy's like, I don't want to buy that bullshit. You so smug. You think you know what's going on. You just got played, Quark. We're up there shooting guns and ops. I shot your friend.
Kira figures out before Quark joins them that he's responsible for allowing them access to the space station. And I very much enjoy the story arc Quark goes on from this point forward, in that he clearly feels guilty over his culpability for what has happened, and therefore actually commits to several heroic acts to try and make up for it. And there's never an on-screen resolution of his culpability. Again, as you said, respecting the audience. Instead, you see him go out of his way to solve the problem, and you are left with the implication that everyone gave him a pass because
they always do.
He didn't intend for any of this to happen, and he helped fix the problem before it became, unsolvable. So,
would we say that was the General Order 2 for Starfleet?
As long as everything works out in the end, any orders you would disobeyed are considered null and void. Yes.
The ends justify the means.
So,
how else is Sisko supposed to treat this?
And Varad does also show back up to ops. He shows up, and now he is no longer nebbish. He is fully confident, and he is joined with the Dax symbiote. And
well, there's some dialogue that happens because while they're up there, his girlfriend, who we find out is literally a space hooker.
Yeah, literally, it's literally a Pretty Woman. Right? She's the hooker. The guy turns into the wife.
And that happens after. So the surgery's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens where I don't know what starts the outburst. I think the Klingon that's Tim Russ maybe shoves O'Brien or is mean somehow, and then Sisko suddenly remembers he's actually Death Row Sisko, who is a level 18 barbarian, starts putting hands all over this Klingon. You got Quark, who's cowering in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You've got O'Brien, who has been essentially mortally wounded. Then you've got Death Row Sisko, who goes Iron Mike on this guy.
Absolute animal mode. 150% hard as a motherfucker.
I don't know what Tim Russ audience signed up for.
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Then you got space terrorist Kira, who we know she's handy with a pistol, right? We've seen her fuck some real shit up with a gun. I don't know. She's not afraid to like get rough with Quark. Have we really seen her in any other like fist fights?
Nothing comes immediately to mind as a strong fist fight sequence for Kira, but I really liked how the scene was that she wasn't in. It's not that she was incompetent. It's that this hooker has got Federation Trek fighting training. Like she pulls all of the tricks, like the open palm techniques, the double axe handle, like it's all there. Like she picked up all of the Federation Trek fighting skills and deploys them right into Kira's face and laser out. Like Kira gets some shots in early, and then it's bam, 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 knock her flat on her ass in front of Quark, who hisses, which I thought was interesting. He like was very like defensive of Kira, like a cat, like hisses at the hook after she beat him up.
If there's anyone I would figure in all of Star Trek that would be able to beat some ass in a fight, it was going to be Kira Nerys. This hooker works her.
Whoops her ass.
This is a one-sided beatdown that I never saw coming 1,000 miles away. I don't think Kira was ready to see it. Kira is in a very stank place the rest of this episode because Space Hooker admits to the entire room, like, yeah, I worked.
Rubs it in. Yeah, don't make me come over there and whoop your ass again.
I don't want to have to do that to you again. So why don't you just chill out over there? It was savage. Her fighting skills, she might as well have been in that Enterprise episode with Trip fighting Reptile. Like she's ready to come out. Like she might as well be Mortal Kombat DLC as far as I'm concerned.
She whiffed with the heavy punch and left her open, and she just got super comboed. Like she got knocked her flat out, just like KO.
She got juggled.
She did. She got air juggled. And then while that's happening, you've got Sisko over here just with an intensity of 10 men absolutely hammering a Klingon male into the ground, unquestioned. Not close.
He was fighting with the strength of a gorilla that had the strength of 5 gorillas. However bad Kira just looked getting her ass whooped by a hooker, this Klingon looks getting his ass demolished by Sisko. I'm surprised Sisko didn't flip him over a console and just dry hump him savagely.
It's just a dominance move.
The fact that this Klingon did not go commit seppuku after the dishonor, because this is the guy that's like, oh, the Federation's weak, we don't value our alliance, this and that. He either needed to go kill Sisko to try and recoup some honor shamefully, or just realistically cut his own head off. It cannot be understood. I've never, ever seen. Even Worf has a hard time with like other Klingons, right?
True. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Death Row Sisko, he's not Mirror Universe. He's in fact, I believe, a Soong type android.
Is he an augment?
Yes. He's not a Soong type android because he's got burning rage. He's just a straight up forget Julian being genetically engineered. It's Sisko. He's part of the lost child of Cold Station 12.
Death Row Sisko is such an upgrade to this show. And
I didn't tell you, by the way. Fuck, we should have did this at the beginning. I woke up 2 days ago. I looked at my phone. I had a Facebook notification on that dead ass platform, Joe. You're not going to believe this.
Okay.
I had a comment that I'd made on like some official whatever 2 years ago. And it's like, oh, hey, it's the anniversary of Star Trek Enterprise. What was your favorite thing about Enterprise? People were like, oh, blah, blah. I'm like, well, the music, of course. Real smart ass.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett Spiner had loved my post.
Oh, I'm glad Brent Spiner can come by and appreciate the faith of the heart.
only I think that he knew that I was being shitty, because that's the only activity that comment has ever gotten. It's one love, and it's from Brent Spiner himself. I really felt great. That was a real moment for me.
You know what? I think that moment might surpass accidentally making contact with Robert Beltran's kid.
Not even close. Not even close.
As a consequence of our titling decision when it came
tangling with Beltran's daughter in YouTube comments, light years above a Brett Spiner love. I screenshotted the shit out of it, though. Don't worry.
That's good. You have to record that for posterity. Your children are going to want to know about that.
Speaking
after this savage round of Street Fighter that is broken out in Ops, and we have
Street Fighter. You mean Streets of Rage? Quark may as well have come out with a fucking thrown a pipe at somebody while O'Brien ate some turkey laying on the floor. That's how ridiculous this was. I'm surprised. Hey, seriously, Streets of Rage, because Poison was originally a villain out of there.
That's true.
Kira got her ass beat by a hooker, which
that
Poison was a prostitute. Give her a weird Nazi hat and some Daisy Dukes and maybe a dick.
I love that your recollection of Streets of Rage is that specific.
Well, Streets of Rage 4 just came out recently, so it's all
I remember that. Yeah, it was
excellent soundtrack.
It got good reviews too.
It was good. Yeah, it's real good.
Okay, so Vera Dax has appeared. He's a changed man. He's a confident man, and it's time to enact his plan, which is apparently get in the runabout and go to the Gamma Quadrant? ?
Solid plan.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I hope we don't get eaten over there, bud. We don't really know much about it, except there's a planet with Mike Emintrout on it. You should avoid that one.
No, that's the one you want to go to, because they're going to be looking. Well, yeah, they'd have to leave you down there. Like, sorry, I get this Trill forever, because if you beam me off, it's going to die. Guess I'll just have to be down here helping Kai Opaka fucking tame the savages.
But sure, if he really wants to commit this murder and get this thing and get out of there, I guess it's a viable place to go. The key conflict in the A plot of the episode, we'll call it from this point, is, of course, Sisko trying to talk sense into Dax and saying, you can't do this. This is bad. This is a total moral void. You have to now realize what you've done, because now you have all of Dax's experiences, and come to the conclusion that you got to go back down the sick bay immediately and give it back, right? Like, that's what you're going to do. And he sets it up by, like, I'm going to strike a bond with you. I'm going to remind you of your time as Curzon, all of that, and then hit you with the Jadzia stuff. And that's where I think there's the separation between what is Dax and what is the person comes more into focus. Dax is a personality. Dax is a collection of experiences and lives, but it's still in the passenger seat, and the person with the symbiote is the driver. And that means if this guy's got no morals, he's not going to give it up.
I'm sorry, I got distracted by Ops of Rage.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, I'm glad you give that a like. That's definitely going to be the title of this episode.
Following the savage hands thrown up there, Sisko starts working on Space Hooker, like, hey, your boyfriend's not going to be there anymore. Like, he's going to be gone. The Stax thing's in there. Trust me, I've watched this happen. Whatever you think we got with this guy, he is coming back a different person. He's got 8 other people worth of that in there. And he starts trying to drive a wedge between Space Hooker and her boyfriend. And deep down inside, this lady knows what's going to happen. This guy's going to find his confidence, and he's not going to need her anymore. And Sisko knows this, and he starts digging in with the seeds of doubt. And she says, hey, I knew you're going to try and pull this shit. I've already been warned against it, and I'm not going to buy it. So why don't you just mind your own fucking business, because I'm not going to betray this guy. So just stop. And of course, Death Row Sisko is not going to stop. So my impression was that when Variant Dax shows up in Ops with a new haircut, some new posture, a big old smile, and all the confidence in the world.
I should say Varad's played by John Glover, who's a relatively notable guest star in his own right.
Well, I looked through his IMDb.
He was Lionel Luthor in Smallville. That's what I remember him most from. But he's also the Devil and Brimstone, which is a great show.
I recognize him as a voice actor. He's got 2 big ones under his belt. The first one is Dyson from Tron Uprising, which was an amazing series that I love. I'm really looking forward to Tron Ares coming out. But he was like this Goebbels-like lieutenant for the bad guys. Also, he plays the Riddler in Batman the Animated Series.
Sure does.
Riddle me this, Sisko. Are we still friends? I took Sisko's leaning in real deep. Like, oh my God, remember that time we banged all those hoes? That we watched that guy eat a whole buffet worth of chicken wings. All of our hijinks. Look at us sharing a moment. I'm your best friend. I took that all as him rubbing salt in Space Hooker's face. Like, see, this isn't your boyfriend anymore.
Interesting.
This is my friend. He doesn't care about you. You are already being othered, and now you are just the help. Everything that I said would come true has happened, and I'm going to force you to painfully watch as I showcase that this guy is 100% changed.
Yeah, he does a good job of working her in a way that makes sense, that she's this very defensive former prostitute rescued from her circumstances by this man, very loyal, but needs him to need her. That's her purpose in life. And when it became clear to her, because he lies to her about the rendezvous that they're going to commit to, and he had never lied before, oh, this is over. I'm about to be used again, right? And her whole character is a story of having been used before.
In the accommodation house.
And so that's her weak point. And Sisko hitting on that until she can get her to turn. Like, she really does just turn on him because I don't want to be left, right? Like, she doesn't have a moral awakening to Jadzia's need to have this symbiote back or she'll die. It's go ahead and like tase him. I'll just like go to jail with him and we'll just be jailbirds together. That's fine.
Listen, when you are a Kafka 4 MMA hooker, all right, there's things you learn in the octagon, and it's sometimes people die. That's life. She doesn't
Kafka 4 MMA hooker.
She doesn't care about Jadzia.
When you're one of those enemies in Streets of Rage that has a blue health bar on top of your yellow health bar,
yeah,
that's
this isn't the first time she's watched someone die. Because her guts got torn out so bad. He goes, I forget who initiates the hug, but she's like, oh, cool. Everything's going to be great. I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you. All the praise in the world. And she goes up and gives him a hug. And you would think that, like, she's got cats and they pee on her clothes and he is not happy about her being there.
Yeah.
And that's why my initial episode recommendation was like, what, you can't fake a hug? You've got this fucking mastermind plan. You got all these smart people in there. And nowhere in Dax's memory is like, sometimes you got to fake a hug. So he gives her this cold fish hug, and she sees the rest of the episode from here. I do like the instant total recall that this guy has, like, oh, I see this place in a different light. I know it inside out. I know all of you. There's a familiarity. Ooh, Chief, I'm sorry we got you fucking all shot up here. My plan is to, like you said, zip off into the wormhole. I'm going to go do good. I'm going to make the most out of this life. I'm going to do science. I'm going to make up for the sins of killing Jadzia. I'm a good guy. I swear.
He's still... They do a good job of putting him in a position where he's not broken up over what he's done, but shows enough remorse for having done it that he doesn't come off as a monster. which I thought was really smart of them, because otherwise it's like, what are you really rooting for here?
Mm-hmm.
Just for this guy to get stopped. Well, it's now there's a story here. Now there's like something to be learned. And while this is all going on is when Quark basically goes for a ride on Tim Russ's back and like jumps on him in an ill-advised attempt to subdue him. Comically fails to do anything except be an annoyance, but gets slammed on his ear, which he then starts to wail like a baby about, to the point where they just decide to take him down the sick bay and have Julian treat him, because they're like, I don't know what's going on, but this is very annoying. And that's where we find out Quark is faking his injury, and he's getting Bashir to understand, like, no, this is our opportunity for you to, get rid of this Klingon who's in here by doing some trickery with me. And after Julian picks up the signals, he gets the Klingon who we did see in an earlier scene when he's trying to treat Jadzia, and Jadzia like comes around and she's, oh, I'm so cold and alone. Please help. You have to put it back. And he's warming up a little bit and he's like helping with some medical stuff here and there. And then, Dr. Bashir takes the advantage to give him the old hypospray night-night juice and put an end to this problem. Here's a whole bunch of sedatives. How many? Enough. You're done.
That's all it takes. Listen, man. I think really hyposprays have stunned more people in Star Trek than phasers have. Honestly.
Yeah, especially if you start like looking at, I think that was a favored trick of Phlox's, if I recall. And we have one more moment of Quark heroics when he uses his super hearing to pick the lock on the Tupperware so the Odo can enter the chat and actually like try to be useful for the end of the episode, which he is.
Great use of Quark across the board.
Yeah.
Really reinforcing that this guy is a Dungeons and Dragons rogue.
Oh yeah. Right down to the lockpick and the bluff. Made the bluff check.
The sneak attack backstab, which, he flubbed the chop on that one. But I don't really think that was his goal, is to actually like effectively mount a counterattack in ops. Like he doesn't want to
get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, he didn't get shot. Now it's one of the party down. Oda's in play. Varant is trying to call down to sickbay to check on people. Again, very competent. Oh, sounds like Yada got. I need to go. I'm going to cut out of here. Hey, space hooker. I'll see you at the rendezvous. I will meet you. She'll later call out that he was supposed to meet. No.
Her.
He was supposed to get there first, and she was going to meet him. And he says, wait for me, I'll see you. She knows he lied. She knows that the jig is up and this shit's fucked. He goes down to try and escape with his ship, which Odo has already cast away. Meanwhile, up in Ops, Sisko finally wears Space Hooker down, where she's like, yeah, you're right. And I don't want to be alone. Promise me you're not going to kill him. And he's like, yeah. She's like, or I'll kill you. And he's like, I watched what you just did to Kira.
Bet you will. It was a really good example of what you're capable of. Appreciate
I think honestly that I'd probably beat you, but I'm going to lose an eye in the process, and I'm not down with that. I need both these eyes.
You were the world street fighting champion. Don't worry. I saw the fucking Chun-Li super fucking move you pulled earlier. I want none of that.
That spinning bird. I don't get fucking corner worked with your lightning kick. They face off. He talks smugly to Benjamin. Benjamin shows him the respect of not shooting him in the back and tells him to turn around while he blasts him up against the runabout. We've been told that the symbiotes, these joining sessions are hard. There's a lot of fatigue on everybody here. Everybody's young, apparently. Jadzia lives through being snipped.
And then reattached.
The Dax symbiote lives through being joined twice with a phasing in between. And that wasn't a stun setting either. That was knocked the fuck out. We end in sick bay. Space Hooker's over Varan, who's like, "Oh, I feel so cold. I feel so alone," which is the same shit Dax is doing. You also saw a lot of tender emotion out of Julian, who still, presumably has a crush on her. So, it makes sense. And, I feel so alone. But hey, she's got what she wants. He is not left to be a monster, leaving her to die. Jadzia's back in operation. And everything is fine.
And the space weather has blown through, and O'Brien's shoulder will just be fucked up for the next 7 seasons.
Yeah, he'll know when it's about to rain from now on.
So, like you said, this episode, it's fine. In fact, I'd say it's pretty good. It furthers the plot of some of our central characters. It gives everyone in the main cast something to do. It is a bit of a change that it's only main cast. We've got no supporting characters for the first time in a long time by design. True bottle episode, right? This is both the fake definition and the real definition that we created.
Well, our real definition and the bullshit definition that was already out there. The ending, classic, what about the main plot? What about the fact that Kieran Reese wants blood because Quark has gone too far and he has betrayed everybody? That shit he put on the wall, that Nest learning thermostat, compromised the security weapon, whatever. It let them all get in this hostage situation where everybody could have and perhaps should have been executed. Sure, he does some heroic shit, but at no point is there any, real forgiveness on screen. And like you said, maybe we can just put two and two together. And
that he paid some kind of price, but like there was some acknowledgement of the fact that, he was trying to commit a misdemeanor, a felony happened, and he committed to heroics to prevent the bad things from actually happening.
He waved enough comp passes at everybody to use the fuck dungeons.
Yeah, this came with a stack of free fuck den tickets. Like, Gomen asai. I'm so sorry.
He's never going to financially recover from all of those lifetime free passes. Like, Jacob's going to be playing a lot of baseball in there. And then there's Varant, who terrorized a space station. He hijacked it. He shot an officer. He tried to kill another officer.
One presumes he will be headed to jail. Everyone here is going to jail.
They never kill the Klingons. I figured at least one of those guys would have gotten killed. Although
killed. They all lived through the
Tim
episode.
Russ suffers a fate worse than death with the amount of dishonor he's going to be taken back. And Space Hooker's like, cool, I won't be alone. You'll be with me in another 30 years. But, we Space Hookers, we live a long time, so.
It's a good episode.
Teaching.
It's a bottle episode. And, yeah, it's got Tim Russ in it. What can you say? It's a fun time. I doubt it will ever be on anyone's top or bottom list of any season of Star Trek. It's one of those.
Yeah, but that's a great place to be, man. Like, when you're doing 26 episodes, how many, let's see, season 2 has...
Yeah, it has the full order.
26, man. Give me 10 of these.
Yeah, if your filler is B- to B, that's great. That keeps your average. That means when you bring in the A hits, you're raising the whole average.
I call this good. This is not a waste of time.
Yeah, it's better than bad. So yeah, I would say it's good too. I would say it's the low end of good, but still good.
Great world building. Excellent fight sequences.
That fight scene is really Kino. I mean, it was really something else.
Again, Sisko beat a Klingon in hand-to-hand combat. This guy, he needed his own story where he got kicked off of Kronos because he was a pussy, and he's been stink ever since, and like just shit talking Klingon high command, and really he sucks, and he's not willing to admit to himself he sucks, and then he gets his ass beat by a human in a fair fight. All right.
What are we watching next week, Peter?
Cardassians. It's gonna be episode 5, season 2. Garrick. Oh, hey. Garrick and Dr. Bashir investigate an abandoned Jesus. Garrick and Dr. Bashir investigate abandoned Cardassian war orphans on Bajor.
You got almost
played by
every
John
one of those
Crocker.
words. Every one of those words wrong the first time. That wasn't actually quite impressive.
I just saw these two guys and little boys. I don't know. This is. I don't know what this episode's going to be about, but
this is a great beginning to the Garrick Dr. Bashir bromance. I guess really their first episode together was the beginning, but we start to do a little bit more with Garrick here.
Who is James
other
Woods
important side characters re-enter the chat after some long absences, and this is going to be a good time. This is a good episode, and as we are looking forward to talking more to you about Star Trek, thank you to everybody that has taken on listening to V'ger Please recently. We appreciate you. You can reach us at V'ger Please on Twitter /X or V'gerPlease@gmail.com. As Peter can attest to, we do delight in talking to our fans that email us, so never be shy about that.
It's right up there with Brent Spiner liking my Facebook post from 2 years ago.
Be like Brent Spiner, and we'll see you later.
Acknowledge us.